Okay. All right,
We're live on Instagram, on mine. Charles is NoelTheMan over there. There he is. Fuck yeah, we're recording on the large TV.
Shit.
We're recording on Charles's laptop.
Wait.
It's like we know what we're doing.
I'm gonna point this up. I should probably tilt that down a bit so we can... I'm gonna lose a lot of subscribers.
Yeah, brother.
Just so you know.
You're not gonna lose shit, because this is hilarious. They missed the condom trash bag meme.
Oh, dude.
You have to rehab
I got an email from a political campaign telling me to do some work.
There we go.
You know what? We better do some work then.
How does this look?
Yeah, that's a sign.
You
It's
better,
an omen.
you better
It's a sign
sign
from
ideology, man.
This is a good angle.
Okay, yeah, that's great angle.
I like that.
Okay, you guys ready to go?
I was
Yes. Wait, am I
born
Yeah,
ready.
you're in it.
I
But you
don't
just
know,
looking
man.
forward to
I
that.
don't think
I'm gonna
it would
bring it.
fit.
So when you like stop the live video, can you get like the MP4 of
That's
that?
good.
I have no idea.
Okay.
But
I
we
think
have Noel's
My
thing,
YouTube
so
channel, you can easily get.
whatever.
What a legend.
All right.
Alright, fantastic.
Meme review.
Welcome to the meme review.
Shit, I don't have my paper.
Fuck! Fuck! Hello, you're live on air. Please don't say
You're live
any
on air.
expletives.
Okay.
We have no one watching,
That's
so
fine. It's whatever.
no one's watching.
Okay,
That's
so we're gonna start this out. Remember, just keep in mind, just no cursing. Try not to. If you do, it doesn't really matter that much. I'll just edit it out. You won't be in the final cut of the.
So like for every curse that we have, instead of bleeping it out, can we add
That's
like
fine.
can we
It's
add
on the
Alex
floor.
Jones making a sound
No, yeah, sure.
in the meme? So like
Yeah.
if I go like fuck, it's just Alex Jones going like I'm coming. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like,
yeah. Okay, all right. But seriously though. Okay, so just again, jokes
Yeah.
self-contained. So no insults at each other. No insults at an ideology that like aren't constructive. And just basically remember it's a school project. Please. Fuck school. Fuck school.
And the police.
And the
okay.
police. All right, I'm gonna start recording. We can do this multiple times, but I really don't feel like any of us want to do this over again. Who is that?
That's my manager.
Oh my
Your
god.
manager.
Do you want
Hello.
To,
You
you want
should
to
fire her.
You want to step
How you
out?
doing?
Oh my god.
What's up? Yeah.
I want to see you.
Oh, I was waiting for you to like be there to like give it to you.
You're all lame.
Okay.
I know.
Well, I'm
Who's
coming in at
chronically-
4:30, right?
Who's Merc Sorrow?
I don't know.
Merc Sorrow is dumb.
All right. Awesome. Probably not. So we could probably get something.
Ooh. What do you do with your manager? What the fuck?
Oh yeah, we could probably get something.
Oh, awesome.
Manager / date
All right.
or prostitute.
Well, you know I don't have any money with me ever.
So you buy it for me. You fucking ass.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I left my wallet at home.
All right, I'll see you.
Nick is
Bye.
the best boyfriend.
Wait, dude, you're dating your manager?
No.
I'm gonna go
She's
ahead
like, you're coming in at 4, right? I'm like, yeah. She's like, are we gonna get like food for everyone while we're here? I'm like, fuck yeah, brother.
Nick, I have to you have to re.
I know. I re-requested it.
Fuck, Nick. That's such a pain.
We're really professional here.
Nick
Wait,
Cambrino and that other guy. I can't remember who that is, but I'm just. It's.
My
I like how
manager's a
YouTube is
lady.
wasting their like bandwidth on me.
Dude, tell your manager to look up the podcast.
Oh my god, we should call him and be like, hi, you want to be on a podcast?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
She's the woman for
Alright,
something.
Let's actually get this.
I started the actual podcast recording 14 minutes ago.
we've been getting ready for 14
We've
minutes.
been getting ready for 2 hours.
This is
just start.
Okay.
We're never ready.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna start recording
Alright,
in a couple
3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Someone's volume was on.
Fuck. Sorry. Is
That's
it
our
mine?
intro.
Yeah, it's your
Yeah. God.
Alright, wait, shit, we need a name.
Stupid Idiot Podcast.
Okay.
I need mine.
Yeah, you're right. Stupid Idiot Podcast.
Stupid Idiot Podcast. Thank you for staying on so long, the two of you that are here. It's a,
Kiva has not left.
what a fucking legend. He was like doing things, and she just has this as background noise.
Okay. Alright.
That's what I do with podcasts.
Okay, I'm gonna get ready. Wait,
Three.
welcome. I can't even be like, welcome back to the Stupid Idiot Podcast, because this is the first
This
one.
is the first
Welcome to the
episode.
meme review.
Introducing to you.
This is
the
the first
Idiot
episode of
Podcast.
the Stupid Idiot Podcast.
So this is the pilot, Pontius.
Okay, I got you. Alright. So
Pontius
when I'm
pilot.
when I'm doing
Fuck Jesus.
when I'm doing the intro, it's just gonna be me talking, and then once we get into the debate,
All right.
everyone start talking.
3,
I'll introduce you guys individually.
The trash.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Meme review.
Welcome to the Stupid Idiot Podcast. We are going to be talking today about 3 different political issues, which will be contraception, birth control, sexual education, and abortion. With me here today is Nick Tamburino.
What's up, my boys?
We got Andrew Leonard,
Hello.
and we got Noel Cormany.
Cormani.
Cormany. So this is supposed to be a podcast that's going to be trying to show political issues to audiences in a bipartisan way, which sticks to the issues rather than being petty like the lamestream media.
Am I right?
Am I right?
Got him.
Okay, so we're gonna be the order of debate, like I said, is gonna be birth control, sexual education, and then abortion. So to start off with the first debate, which is contraception, which is with birth control, is basically going to be Noel and me. Let me just for some background on the issue. Birth control has changed dramatically over the ages. We've gone from using leaves from plants, to now having hormone pills, which have become much more effective with birth control. The debate that we're going to be having is over its benefits for our society and its downsides, when it's okay, when it's not okay, and what is okay and what isn't. So, Noel's argument is that it allows people to have sex without the risk of a child. It stops STDs from spreading 99.9% of the time. It slows population growth. It's a confidence booster, buying the large stack of condoms in front of the cashier.
It's true.
It is true.
What does that need to be that?
Since there are less children being birthed, more resources can be spent on a single child and less environmental impact from population growth. And my argument is that contraceptions that prevent fertilization, or the sperm meeting the egg, to occur are incredibly useful and necessary in our society. On the other hand, contraceptions that prevent the implantation of a fertilized egg, which basically means when the egg attaches itself to the wall of the uterus, which it means the egg has already been fertilized. I think that's not okay and should be restricted, since basically it is the termination of a pregnancy at an early stage, which is, in my mind, basically abortion, a chemical abortion. So, you have an opening argument, Noel?
I have an opening argument.
Do you want to? We'll start with a question.
I wasn't expecting you to include the entirety of my argument, but I'm actually quite happy you did.
Okay, so I think we'll start off with the easy one, and that would be: is birth control immoral?
Immoral?
Immoral.
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 No, it's not immoral at all.
All right, end of discussion.
Why don't you get closer to the microphone and speak a little louder?
Well, I mean, it's not immoral at all, because, like, it's... No, Nick, I'm on the spot here. Shut your mouth.
Oh,
It's just not immoral. I don't see how, like, you could say it's immoral. Like,
No.
it's just a pill.
Yeah, no,
Is taking aspirin immoral? Like, I don't understand. I mean, you're
It's
Swallowing
look at it
babies,
like
but, like-
this. So like with aspirin, it's like, well, I don't want a headache,
I don't want
so
you're killing
I'm
the headache.
gonna
What are you
take
talking about?
aspirin, right?
Yeah.
I don't want a baby. I'm gonna take a pill to not have
Yeah,
one.
I mean, it just makes sense. I don't understand how you can say it's immoral.
Well, I think for the most part it's not immoral. I think the only part where I start to think that it starts to delve into that territory is, like I said in my argument, that like the already fertilized pregnancy being terminated and preventing implantation. I think that's not okay. But I think anything else like condoms and things that prevent like the fertilization to happen, or the sperm meeting the egg to even happen at all, I think those are fine, and I don't think those are immoral at all. I think mainly the people who say that things are immoral are just the ones who think that it's anti-religious, or that it promotes sexuality and like going around and having sex with multiple partners. But
And we don't want that.
We
That'd be crazy.
that would be
Yeah.
crazy. But for the next session we have, should forms of contraception be made available to teenagers, just openly,
Yes.
like for
So like as in
to like say like a school institution giving out condoms to their students.
right. So it's not like if I'm 15, I can't go out to Walgreens and
Well,
buy
no,
like
well,
a 6-pack of.
Okay, we'll start with that. We'll start with that. Do you
Condoms.
think people who are underage should be able to purchase condoms and things like that?
yes.
Well, sure. In order to avoid teen pregnancies.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
which, to be fair, would hurt MTV's market in the universe. But I think we can all agree that having a kid at 14 isn't the ideal situation in life, and
Yeah,
if the
it's
solution to that is like a Target bag or a trip to
No.
Walgreens, so be it. Basically, you know what I mean? Like,
I think the point of having it available for teens is so they don't use the Target bag. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't
Exactly.
make them using the
exactly
Target
right. So if you limit the availability, people are gonna start using
bag.
Target
Yeah, and
bags.
they're not as effective.
That's interesting because
I'm
the
pretty
moment
sure
that
they're
you
not.
say don't do something, people are gonna do it, but in
Yeah.
an unsafe way,
Yeah.
like
yeah.
a Ziploc.
Yeah,
So make
because
it as safe as possible.
because people in general aren't gonna stop doing it. It's just a thing people do. So if you allow them to do it the safe way, it's a lot better than just forcing them to find some loophole or some crazy way to do it.
Exactly. People are gonna do what they want to do no matter what.
Yeah, and,
So-
and in fact, that actually gets into the abortion debate, which we're going to have later on in the podcast, because
Foreshadowing.
yeah, it's a bit of foreshadowing.
Spoilers.
Ooh.
Woo.
But yeah, no, I mean, from my opinion of it, I think it should be made available to teenagers because, like, I mean, like reiterating what, saying again what you guys are getting at. Yeah, it's just like they're gonna do it anyway, so you might as well
Yeah.
make it easier. It's kind of like the thing where I can't remember where it was, but they gave out clean syringes to they gave out clean syringes so people weren't using the same syringes for like heroin and things like that.
Mhm.
So they weren't like spreading around like bloodborne diseases and things like that. So
Yeah.
at least they were being healthy in that aspect. They weren't dying on the streets,
Yeah.
even though the drug in themselves would get them in the end. But whatever,
Yeah. Well, if you're going to do something, do it as safely as possible.
more or less. Yeah, that's kind of the point.
If you're going to go skydiving, bring a parachute.
So here's another one, and I think
Target bag.
To bring a Target
Don't
bag.
use a
Don't bring a Target bag.
I think
Like
this,
a pool cover.
I think we're gonna have one more question. I think we're gonna wrap up this topic. Should religious institutions be required to supply contraception on their health policies? Should like church I don't know what a good example of it.
Joel Osteen's mega church.
But like, should churches supply birth control in their health programs to their employees? Should they be required if they consider it immoral and a sin or whatever, or they are religiously against it? Should they be required to?
Well, are we making other
Well,
institutions do
like,
it?
what institute?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, if we're
There-
making some
there
of
are-
them, we should make all of them.
There are federal policies that I don't have the exact statistic on here. It's either federal or state policies that are requiring health policies to have contraceptions, like different kind of birth controls. So like if a woman wants to go on the pill, that they would help cover it with their health policy.
Right. Well, then it makes sense. If we're making, like, if I own, like a car company and I offer a health plan to my employees and that has to be covered, I don't know why we wouldn't make it so that every single other institution would also have to do that.
I think,
Like, if we're making, Joel Osteen's mega church, tax exempt, for example, but,
That's exactly what I was
GMC isn't, you know what I mean? Like, they're both private institutions,
Yeah.
but they don't have the same responsibilities.
Mhm.
Because one is religious and the other one is, like, secular, air quotes.
Mhm. I think the main
Well, I don't know what GMC's religious policies are.
Well, they're like publicly secular, but whatever. I think that the main point that the point that I would make to this is that if they're like religiously opposed to something, like I don't think we should be forcing them to do something that's against their belief system. If they're like a well-established religion, and obviously not something guy made in his garage and
Yeah.
to make up some bull like that. But like if it's a solid religion like Christianity or Islam or something like that, or Judaism, which doesn't necessarily support that. I don't know their specific policies, but I don't think that we should be pushing on them something that they don't agree with.
Right.
It would be like you being against like stabbing someone, and then me being like, stab them. I mean, that's an extreme example, but like it's like I feel like we shouldn't be pressuring them to do something they don't believe in, because then with the thing is that if the employee wants to get that kind of birth control, maybe don't be employed by a religious institution, because if you're part of that religious institution, you should be at least adopted those belief systems. So if
Yeah.
they're against it, you should be against it. And that's my thinking with that. But if you want to say something more.
Yeah, I was agreeing with you. Like, if you're working in a religious institution, you probably already agree with what they believe.
Well, it's the kind of thing where like institutions aren't people.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like if you work in a religious institution that's required to provide these things, but you don't believe in them, you don't have to take them.
And also,
Do you know what I mean? Like
I
I'm not gonna force you to take birth control if you
Mhm.
don't want to. I'm just saying that you can have it if you want it.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's the kind of thing.
Also, I feel like there's because this is for allowing people like under their healthcare from the business company or corporation, and I feel if it's an entity that's being taxed and it's kind of under the government, it's like a corporation, you know. I feel like that should go under that should be under, you know, everybody should be charged with that. But when it comes to more religious organizations, I guess you could if they're not being taxed in the same way, you know, maybe we should end up taxing them the same way. Or if they're not, then, you know, kind of have this slight exemption. But like you said too, it's if you don't believe what they believe, well, why are you there? It's like it's this ideology, you know.
Yeah.
It's,
And if you're there just for a job, which you could be, you know what I mean? Like my cousin had a really weird career path. He went to college to be a farmer. He did like horticulture.
Mm.
And then he realized there wasn't any money to be made in farming. So he went back to IT.
Mhm.
And now he does IT at a Jewish school.
Ah.
He's not Jewish, he's Catholic,
Gotcha.
right? But if
job.
he was, you know, like a secular person and he wanted to, you know, have some kind of birth control like condoms or whatever, or anything other than that, but they wouldn't let him,
Mhm.
even though he's not like of the belief system, you're kind of encroaching on other people's ability to get that thing.
That's true.
Like even if they don't, you know, share the same beliefs as you, which is why like, you know, these big institutions, they're not people. I mean,
Yeah.
they shouldn't necessarily have as many rights as you do, Andrew,
Yeah.
or Noel, or Charles. Like, I have the
Yeah,
ability to
Robin.
go to Walgreens and get this thing, but like, I don't know if they should be allowed to like limit my ability to do that.
I think the last point I'm going to make before we move on, unless anyone has any other, well, we'll have closing remarks. My thing is that people can change jobs, institutions can't change policies. Like they can't change the federal law. So we would be making a final decision for all the institutions. So it's not like the religious institutions can go somewhere else
Sure.
and not have that policy, where people can change jobs and change employments. People are more mobile than an institution or a church or a religious institution would be. So I feel like if we make that mandatory, we're hurting the institutions. But if we don't have that, we're not necessarily hurting the people because they can go somewhere else.
Right.
People can move, the institution can't. That's just my final point. If you guys want to have any more closing remarks before we wrap up this topic.
Sure. I think that like if I'm like a representative from like Lockheed Martin, like I would rather not pay tax.
Mhm.
Like I'm not happy about that I have to pay a lot of tax. And you know, like if I could just get rid of that, you know, like these churches want to get rid of, you know, contraception or whatever, that'd be great. But like I'm not allowed to kind of, you know, do that. I think that it's the same kind of thing where like just because we make one sector do it means we have to make every single other sector do it, because why not just declare Lockheed Martin as a religious institution and make them tax exempt? We
Yeah.
believe in military, you know, like organization, like, you know what I mean? Like, I worship military planes, therefore I don't have to pay tax or give my employees condoms. Like, where do you draw the line?
I hear you.
Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And you guys have final remarks, or you guys good?
no, I think we wrapped it up really well, and you got to all the points, you know.
Militariology.
Militariology.
Yeah,
I think that's
new religion.
We drop birth control on, on people instead of bombs.
Okay.
Oh my god, spread love, not war.
Okay. For our next debate issue, we will be talking about sexual education in the United States specifically. What's it called? Oh wait, shoot! I don't have my sheet.
What?
Oh, here it is. Sorry. Sexual education. For the history of the issue is like birth control. A lot has changed. We have gone from having no sexual education at all to having limited, and to now having widespread sexual education. The debate here is on what kinds of information should be taught in these classes, and when should kids start learning about it. So for this debate, it's going to be between again me and Nick. Is going to be talking about this. I also need to read the arguments. My argument here is that sexual education is good and should be taught. It should focus on the dangers of the act, but also should show how you should protect yourself from some of those dangers. And Nick's argument is sexual education is good. Contraceptives are also good. Wrap it up, kids. It's important that we teach people that doing the saucy times is okay and positive if both parties are mutually consenting and stable.
Stable.
It's
Like
true.
Stable minded.
Yeah, like
I mean,
So like so you're not using it as like a crutch to like cope with other things. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Oh, gotcha.
Like I'm going through a rough patch in my life, so I'm gonna have sex my problems away. You know what I mean? That's
yeah.
not like
oh,
that's-
so like the education to be like, don't do it just because
Oh.
you're.
yeah, like like
you
it's
think
not
of
it's not a coping mechanism.
Yeah, gotcha.
Like don't take Advil, cold, and sinus until you die because you have a lot of problems at work. Do you know what I mean? Like there are more healthy ways to cope with things.
Okay, so unless you guys have any more comments about that, the first question I have on here is: if you were in charge of the sexual education everywhere, you're in charge of the curriculum, what would be one of the main things that you prioritize? And Nick, you can go ahead and start this off.
Right. I think it's having gone through teen issues. You know, in ninth grade, that was an interesting time in all of our lives.
Which,
but
for context, is a class we all had to take in
Yeah.
high school.
it's kind of like sex ed, but they also go through, you know, don't do drugs, kids, and you know, what does STDs look like, and that's all very important. But I think it's also important not to try and scare people away from it. Do you know what I mean?
I hear you.
Like, if you hold hands with a boy, you're gonna die because you get pregnant. I feel like, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel
Yeah.
like in a lot of ways, people are trying to make it scary, and I don't think it has to be like that. I think we should be, you know, kind of teaching people, like, you know, have sex with whoever you want, if you want to, or don't. If you don't want to do that, and you want to wait until marriage, for example, that's also fine.
Yeah.
But if you would like, you know, you really like your friend Johnny, and you kind of want to have at it, like, that's also fine. Do you know what I mean? Like, and like stress the fact that like if both parties want to do it, then do it. You know what I mean? To a certain point. You know what I mean? So it's not like, oh well, my parakeet consented, so I can have sex with my bird. Like, no, that's not. Like, you draw the line somewhere,
Yeah.
but like. I think it's important not to make it seem like a scary topic and that it can be a positive thing.
I think if I were to answer this question with a sexual education, I spelled sexual wrong on my outline, by the way. Whatever.
It's fine. We accept people of all dyslexic levels.
Oh my god. So my main focus would be that like mainly telling kids or younger people or teenagers, whatever, that you know how heavy that decision is with what risks you put yourself at, the ramifications emotionally of doing that, and like the importance of the act. I think also another thing that I would want to stress in the sexual education curriculum is that while not doing it prevents you from all the risks, just all of them. Just outright not doing it.
Not doing it is best birth control.
That'd be one of the points I'd want to stress. But also, I'm not talking about abstinence only as sexual education, which is not having sex at all. If you don't know what abstinence means, I think just stressing the fact that not doing it prevents you from all the dangers, showing the kids all the dangers, but also saying that it's not necessarily a sin to have sex with multiple partners, but just doing it the right way and making sure you pick your partners wisely is the best way to go. So stress dangers, importance of the act, and not doing it is the best way to prevent things.
Sure.
And if you guys want to chime in,
Get tested for STDs.
get tested.
Yeah,
Probably a good
and also
idea.
tell them how to do that.
Yes,
Yeah.
give them resources to like.
Because we
Yeah.
did not get those.
No.
Like
I'm
I
not-
still like I don't know.
Where
Do
do
I
you
go
go?
to
They
like
talked
my
to us
doctor?
Do I go
and
to
be
my
like,
family doctor?
Hi,
exactly
can I
how
get a
to
swab?
go about
Like I don't
doing
know how to do it. I'd have to
Yeah.
Google WebMD to like see what's wrong with me.
And that's an unnecessary barrier that doesn't need to exist.
And also with that too, it's like it won't give you exact answers. It's not gonna be like, oh, go to this local area where you already know it exists.
Yeah.
Maybe where you live, it may be a long distance away, and you don't drive yourself, so you gotta convince your parents. But then, who wants to tell their parents
Nobody.
about that? You know.
So yeah, making testing more available.
Yeah.
I don't know like how readily you can do it. Like, can you get like a kit?
I don't think
yeah,
you
I
could do it.
still don't
See,
know.
I have
I mean-
no idea, and I researched this.
And
topic.
we went through this class.
Yeah.
And,
Like,
like,
take your blood or something?
I have no idea. Like, I just
Possibly.
think.
maybe.
I think
maybe
the point
they.
is
Take your
that
blood
like,
test.
Yeah.
Sounds.
I think that administrations in like schools are afraid to teach it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have the people that like if you hold hands you're gonna burn in hell for eternity, and those people
Yeah.
they shout the loudest,
Mhm.
therefore they win.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think it's the kind of thing where like, you know, dare I say it, if Johnny likes Steve, why not
Why
let
not,
them
yeah.
hold hands? You know what I mean? Like, because we're secular as a
Yeah.
public school,
Mm.
we just kind of have to tell people that like this is exactly how you get tested. This is how you do it. You're probably gonna run into this kind of situation. You know, if
Yeah.
this happens, like go through hypothetical situations with people because like we're really unprepared,
Yeah. 100%.
and like you kind of have to like, it's like trial and error at this point.
So I think since we're all pretty much mostly in agreement with this, I'm gonna move on to another question. The next question is, what is your main complaint with the system personally? What is your main complaint that you had that was the problem?
Andrew went so I want to
no,
hear what
yeah,
Andrew has
Andrew.
to say.
No, it's just it was a lot of topics we were already talking about how they don't really go over it much at all because we had a whole big class and the whole class was about every single topic, and I felt like they kind of skimmed over like
Yeah.
sexual education a lot because I mean they talked about STDs and why they're big and scary, but then they're like, oh yeah, be safe, and then there's kind of like
Now on to heroin. Don't
Yeah.
do that. You know,
and it's surrounded by all these other things that should make you scared.
Yeah.
Like I mean, like a lot of those different drugs that are illegal can actually really affect you really badly. While I mean, sex is like it if you do it right, it's fine.
Yeah.
And
They're grouping it into like
yeah,
like the category with all of these other life-altering like.
they're
Well,
Right.
hey, I mean
It's an issue.
that decision can be life altering if you don't do it the right
That's
way.
true. Don't use
Yeah.
target bags.
That's why you gotta
Yeah.
tell us how to do it right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
So
If
if
you don't tell
pitch
people
it,
how to do it right,
if you
they're gonna
pitch
do
it
wrong.
in a positive like connotation,
Mhm.
but like if I go like I'm talking about like for example like a series of 3 things, right? And the first one is like stabbing victim statistics, right?
Mhm.
And then the next one is like how to make brownies. And then the next one is like Armenian genocide. Like you're gonna think twice about brownies because like why did he put that in between those
Yeah.
2 things?
Yeah.
They're
You know what I mean?
indirectly making it bad.
Mhm.
Like they're, I mean, maybe they're trying to. I mean, the people who are organizing it. I mean, I don't know what they're thinking, but it's making it look bad. Like
Yeah.
seriously,
Yeah.
it's
It's
yeah.
putting it in a very negative connotation.
It's
and it doesn't have to be.
They're not saying it's bad. It's just like it's like what you
It's
said.
implied.
They just sandwich it between other things that happen to be worse.
Yeah.
I did.
You said that
And you know.
Okay. I mean, my main complaint I always thought was weird. I mean, coming from me being more of a
Prude.
more. Of a, I always thought it was weird because like whenever we went through it, it always was like, this is how sex works. This is what sex is, briefly, of course. But it was always like, oh yeah, this is what male and female sex is, and it's like, but it could be with your buddy, if you're gay. No, we're not gonna judge you if you swing.
And it
out.
was so
It
awkward.
was such an awkward, and it was an afterthought, and like, not being homosexual myself.
Wow.
Shut up.
We went to
Shut
Shut
up.
Up.
Shut up.
Unknown.
Shut up. But it was just really weird how they handled it. It was like they were being forced to handle it. It's like I feel like we should talk about that more because that's a thing. That's a thing.
Yeah.
Like, cover more than just male female. I think it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also weird how it's like you have your teacher that does this, and then he's like, next semester, it's like, oh, let's go do gym now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they have to be like jacks of all trades. Maybe we should have like a sex ed specific teacher.
yeah,
who's
yeah,
like,
that's what was
this
weird.
is my job.
They
I
had
teach
teenage issues
this.
and then health, but like they were like
And
the same
gym.
class. They felt
And he
the same
teaches like
thing.
soccer and stuff like on the weekends.
Yep, but this can be so important because the thing is, like, if people just end up having a bunch of kids they don't want or don't need, and then that ends up having them use up money they don't want, that's lowering their like the standard of living. Yeah, it's affecting everybody indirectly because that person now can't afford to buy stuff he normally would to help stimulate stuff. I mean, it's not a huge thing, but it's a factor that plays into the United States economy, and also it will teach a new group of people about give them a new major, new stuff to teach, and it will help give people jobs.
Well, not saying that kids are bad
Yeah.
as well. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to
Yeah,
have
yeah,
kids,
yeah.
have kids. But, like,
Yeah.
It's got to be financially responsible.
yeah, you hear about all these people that's like, I was going to, go to med school and do all these
But
things.
then I had a
And
kid.
then I had a kid, and I had to leave all that behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, kids aren't bad.
Kids aren't bad, but,
It's
like,
just when
just
they
a
pop
big
up in your
resource.
life.
You
Unless
have to
you
support.
want to have them, you shouldn't, like, have to, you know what I mean? Have to be in a situation where that's a possibility.
Yeah,
You know
but
what I mean?
it costs money. It's not free to have a child. You gotta have the money there. You gotta have
And
the time
time.
there. Yeah. Well,
I think-
time,
I-
money.
I think this is a good conversation, but I think we're getting away from the main point.
Oh,
so I'm
true.
gonna just steer us back towards it. And this will be the last question for the issue: is when do you guys think that children should be exposed to this kind of education? So like what age?
Right.
And Nick, I'll let you begin here.
Well, you hear about, like, these middle school kids
Mhm.
who are, like getting pregnant. And that's, like, how old are middle school kids? Like, my brother's in, like, 6th
12?
grade. He's, like, 11, 12-ish. And I'm like, if they're, like, getting down and, like, saucy, like, I feel like we should be, like, look at when this is happening. And, like, oh, if middle school kids are getting pregnant and we're teaching sex ed in 9th grade in high school, maybe we should kind of back it up
Yeah.
so that they know what's happening.
Mhm.
So that they know, like, oh, I could change my entire life by having a kid. What if, I go to Walgreens and get this
Yeah.
this thing for myself and
Mhm.
for my significant other,
Yeah.
right? I just think that, like, you look at the trends of things that are happening, and I don't think we're meeting, like, the starting point of when people are starting to kind of experiment with this.
I hear you.
Didn't they? I'm just wondering. Like, I thought they had a little something in middle school.
They had a puberty thing.
Yeah.
Well, it was
But
only
that's-
one
that's a
class.
little-
It
that's a
wasn't-
little-
It wasn't in depth. at
You're
all.
gonna
No.
start to get hairs in places
And that's
you didn't
and that's a
think.
little different than sexual education. That's just
And they
telling
gave
you
you a
what's
little
going
booklet
on.
that had pictures.
And I
on it.
remember it was in like 7th
burned
grade,
that
but like
thing.
they separated the girls from the
Yeah,
boys
yeah,
in
yeah.
completely different classrooms.
It was.
And like they're like
The
don't even
teacher-
look at each other. The
Who's-
teacher had to be a guy
Mhm.
for the guys, and the teacher had to be a fully grown woman for the
was
the
his
girls.
name
And it was like
I don't know.
Mr.
I think Thompson did it for us.
The
Wasn't
way
he
they
that big
handled it,
guy
though.
who was very scary?
Yeah.
He, if you laughed at all, he would like.
Oh yeah,
Beat
and
you
if
up.
you like made
Like, he
any
was,
kind
he
of
was
face,
so taboo about it.
any kind of face at all, like you get like that
I
was,
was
an automatic
afraid.
like
I was
detention.
sitting there like scared for my life that I was about to be killed.
Yeah.
No. That brings
the
up a good
problem with
point.
that thing.
That brings us a good point. It creates this atmosphere of like this is a bad thing. If my teacher's about to beat me up for laughing,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
it's a funny topic.
Yeah,
too.
but also, I
Yeah.
mean, that was a puberty kind of thing. So, I mean, it's a little bit different than sexual education.
But it
but
applies
like,
to both.
it does apply. It
Yeah.
does apply.
Like the
But
way they teach it.
I think, in my personal opinion, when I think that we should probably do it at the age of consent. And the only reason why I say it the way that is because, without having, I don't have the statistics in front of me on when, or I don't know if there even is statistics on how or when young people are having, or when young people are having sex as any form of reliability. Like, I feel like if we introduce kids to sexual education and show them all this, they are more. I feel like they're going to be likely to try it under the age of consent. And that's the thing I fear. So if we don't even enter it into their mind, I don't know. I feel like
That's
I feel
true.
like
The age of
introducing.
consent
there's a
is
fine
just-
line.
18.
It is 18.
I mean,
and
that's an
we would
argument.
be getting
16.
sex ed now, like right now.
You got a good point.
Do you know what I mean?
That's a
And-
good
well,
point.
And also, they're already doing it. It's the
Yeah.
kind of thing where like it doesn't
but
matter
now-
if you tell them what
you
it's
probably
about or
are.
not. They're gonna figure it out. The internet's a thing. They're gonna go on Pornhub and figure it out and be like, "Hey, Stacey,
And
I
I'd
saw
rather
this
it be
thing.
from
You want to
a
try it?"
teacher
Yeah.
than Pornhub.
Do you know what I
I
mean?
get it.
And it's like
Because Pornhub is
you don't have control of when parents talk to their kids about it. If they decide to tell their kids about it when they're 12, they already know about it. You know what I mean? And they already want to try it. It's just the kind of thing where like
I think it's just an
it doesn't matter
It's part of
necessarily.
it.
They're just gonna do it either way.
I-
So if you kind of beat them to the punch and be like, if you want to do it, do it. But if you don't have to. These are the risks. You can get an STD, or you can get pregnant, or you could not if you do these things. You know what I mean?
I think the goal is figuring out when that instinct starts. You know?
Yeah, because
Probably around puberty.
there's a line
Yeah.
because when the hormones start kicking in, that's when you start thinking about it, and that's when you get more curious. So and that happens at different ages. So there's a line where there's that point where more kids think it than not.
You just have to
So-
find the median age.
Yeah, and
It's all about finding that balance.
It's all about finding that balance.
Oh no!
And
It's
I
the
think-
you could say all about finding that balance, and you will always be correct.
It's
I mean,
true.
it all is about finding that balance. I mean, like,
And I
middle
think
ground.
once you find that age,
that balance is probably somewhere in middle school.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because like you're sitting there in the PSSAs and you feel a little rumble in the jungle.
Oh my god.
You can't stop it. You're like,
I'm sorry,
what is
can you
happening?
Explain what rumble means.
Well, you see, Noel, sometimes when a boy likes a girl, or a guy likes a guy, or a girl likes a girl.
Exactly.
You know.
Well, girls don't get boners, but you see what I mean.
Wait a minute. Hold on. We don't have a girl
Pause.
Pause.
yes.
We need a guest speaker.
We no,
to
we're
call.
not calling someone. We're not calling someone.
Let's call
right.
Veronica.
No. Oh my god.
Veronica.
No. All right. I think we're gonna. I think this is a good debate we've had so far. So I'm gonna move on, and this one's gonna be probably the most controversial one, and this is gonna be this is gonna be abortion. Abortion.
And then Alex Jones in the background.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Alright. Alright. Whoa!
I said freaking.
Okay. Alright. Let me read the history we got
Is it
here.
freaking?
Okay. Abortion in America is a very touchy subject. At one point, women were performing these procedures to themselves in order to terminate pregnancies in back alley areas. Following the Supreme Court case of Roe versus Wade, abortion became legal, and abortions have been done ever since. The debate here is over the morals of abortion, whether or not it is okay to have an abortion, and if and when it is okay to have one done. For this debate, we're going to be having myself and Andrew are going to be doing one. Good job for Andrew. Good job, Andrew. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. Good to be
Andrew's
Good to be
Good to be here.
Been here for about
okay.
You
Andrew's
come out.
argument.
40 minutes.
Andrew's argument is that abortion should be legal and available to anyone in the situation that needs it. Children don't need to be born into families where they're not 100% wanted and may lack in parenting or development from said lack of want. Also, medically, it is sometimes necessary to save the life of the mother, and an abortion can be necessary. My argument is that abortion should not be allowed as a choice for anything other than medical necessity, and even then it should be a last resort. The life of the unborn child is just as important as anyone else. With adoption being an option, killing a child just because it's unwanted is wrong, and I think morally wrong, in my opinion. So, unless we haven't, if you guys want to say anything about my argument, or I say anything?
No.
We'll start with the first question. The first question is.
Are we allowed to talk about your argument?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So you say you think it's morally wrong to is that what you're saying, like to kill a child?
I think in the cases where if that gets into the first question here, I'm just going to read the first. I'm going to read the first question because it kind of answers what you're saying. I'll get to what you're saying. Is when, if ever, is abortion okay? Is the first question. I think in general, for most cases, I think abortion is not okay, because it's terminating the life of someone who's going to be born and grow up and be older, and I think that's not okay in my mind. Well, hold on, I'll get there.
I just don't know.
I'm getting there. My point is that the times where I think it's okay for an abortion to occur is like if the mother's going to die. I think that an abortion with the attempt to save the child, of course, is okay in that case because we don't want to just doom people to death. And I think that's always been a thing with abortion legislation and laws and things like that. Has always had that caveat, is accepting the life of the mother, or in terms of rape and incest, which is whatever. And what do you does that answer your question?
Well, wait, are you like, what if it's a teenager? Like,
If it's a teenager,
It's
Yeah.
like a
So like if
14
I'm
or-
13 and my
What do you think,
boyfriend
Nolan?
gets me pregnant,
I think I still think that the pregnancy should go full term because we're terminating the life of someone who is unborn. So I think that you're killing someone in that situation. Like you're killing someone who's going to grow up and get and whatever. And I think that that's not okay, especially when we have adoption. Which I know adoption is expensive and its whole procedure, and I think that needs to get better for sure. I'm 100%
and
for
also
adoption getting
everybody
better.
likes adoption.
and also with adoption too, it's not just the procedure of putting that kid in a giving him a nice home or trying to give it.
Mhm.
It's also if he gets a nice home
Yeah.
or she gets a
Yeah.
nice home, because a lot of adoptions don't happen, and there's
Yeah.
more kids than there are adoptions. So those kids are end up growing up, and a lot of the time don't end up to do anything because I forget when I saw some statistical data a while ago, but it was like everything bad was at least slightly more likely to happen. I'm like I can't read off the top of my head,
no, I
but
hear what
it
you're
was like a lot more stuff was more likely to happen, like homelessness or lower
Yeah.
income jobs and stuff.
But my thing is should we? It comes to the point where because the way I look at it is I see it as killing a child is how I look at it, which other people don't. Other people
Yeah, I
don't.
know.
Well, yeah, I'm sure you guys have your own opinions on that, but I see it as killing a child, which I don't think is something that we're going to get into today because that's a lot of biology and getting into that.
We're not scientists.
We're not. Yeah, none of us are
Yeah.
scientists, so like.
I'm an English
whatever.
major. This is not my major.
So
But,
in my opinion, I think that it's killing a child. So from my perspective, I see it as, killing a child because they're gonna have a bad life is how I see it.
Right.
So that's why that argument doesn't really, resonate with me or make sense to me because
we're also not killing a child because they have a bad life. It's also going to affect.
The
the
mother.
mother,
and
yeah,
the-
it's
and the
not-
father.
well,
Yeah.
that's
It's gonna affect
why
many lives.
that's
It-
that's
the whole
why.
family.
And then we get back
Yeah.
to it
Because
hurts the
in a lot of
Takes
situations where
resources
like
from one kid.
if you get pregnant at 13, and you have the baby and run away, it's the grandparents that take care of it. And I've
And it
known
affects the
people that like,
grandparents.
have to do that all over again. And there's another thing where like, it doesn't necessarily matter what our individual opinions are because
Yeah.
people are gonna do it anyway.
Yep,
Mhm.
because
Right. So even if
So,
you make
yeah.
it fully illegal in any situation, we're gonna go back to the '60s where people are doing it in the streets.
Which,
you know what I mean?
Which,
Like,
yeah, no, I hear that, and I actually I believe the same thing as well. Which is why I've always been supportive of making the alternatives to abortion a lot easier, so we can reduce the number. But I also, in the end, I support outlawing it because,
Right.
in my mind,
Outlawing abortion.
outlawing abortion. Well, except with the caveats.
With the
Yeah,
when
yeah,
it-
Yeah, with the
okay.
caveats. Because in my mind, again, it's killing a child, in my opinion. So I feel like to prevent those back alley abortions is to reduce increase contraception, make
Yeah.
adoption an easier process to enter and get out of. Make just basically help the adoption system, which was one of the we were gonna have an adoption debate on here, but the person who was supposed to do it is in the Cayman Islands
I definitely
doing a tax scam,
doing a tax
presumably.
scam. But I mean, go ahead.
I definitely think that if you're gonna take that position as like you're against abortion,
Mhm.
you're gonna have to be for these things that help
Yeah.
prevent it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You also
Which
can't
is-
be
Because I know a
anti-contraception.
lot of
Yeah,
people
because
are
that's
against abortion, but are also against.
Contraception.
Which
It's like,
is-
what do you want me to
which
do?
is
Yeah,
my-
what do you want me to
some
do?
people, some people end up being that way, and
Mhm.
that's it's like saying you're gonna take no root and you're just gonna let the
Yeah.
the
You just want to
problem
let
sizzle.
everything
But
get
yeah,
more
they kinda, like,
problematic.
And it's the
That's
kind of thing where
fine.
like, why not do all of the above?
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is which is
Make it legal if it needs to be. If you need to have one, right? If you
If I
can't
could-
support the child, or if you're gonna run away, your grandparents are gonna have to take care of it. It should be an option, and also all of the other
Yeah.
institutions.
That's-
You know what I mean? Like it should be all of them should be.
that's
involved.
always been my issue with the anti-abortion movements and pro-life movements have always been that they seem to be very religious. It's always been like a religious thing, and I'm not religious at all, and I'm
None of us here
none of
are.
none of us are religious.
Except for Andrew.
I don't know
What?
what.
Andrew's
No,
not
no,
religious.
I'm not.
Andrew's
Okay.
not.
Whatever. So
Andrew and I are probably the least religious.
that's
Yeah.
always been my issue is that they they want to outlaw abortion, but they don't give people the alternative.
Yeah.
And that's why whenever I go to like a pro-life rally or a pro-life thing, it's always been I have to talk to like hardcore Catholics and tell them that like if you want these things and you think abortion is immoral and a sin, then let's help people prevent it from even happening in the first place.
Yeah, you can't make a situation worse and then not provide a solution.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just kind of being a bit of a dingus.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a political science term.
It is a political science term. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yes.
So I think that all of the things should be improved, right?
Yeah.
So like my personal opinion, right? I don't mind abortion, right? So if you want to have one, have one. But if you don't want to have one, have the kid and also have all of these other resources, right? So, like, instead of outlawing one and then propping the other ones up, why not just make all of them better and then less people will have abortions?
Yes, because...
Do you know what I mean? So,
I
like,
think it's a self-solving problem. Like, if you just let people do these things, you know?
Because people are going to do whatever they want anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
I just feel like, I mean, again, it goes back to the way I view the issue. I view it as a child, which other people don't. But the way I see it is that if we do all the things that you guys suggest with the contraception and the adoption and the whole bit, that helps the issue a bit. But I feel like you need to have that like final like legislation to ban it, except obviously with the caveats which I mentioned before.
Well, I think again the problem is that
I think Andrew's trying to enter here real quick.
Oh, sorry.
No, I know. I just want to say I really agree with what you're saying about how improving everything is. I feel if you get rid of one option, all the options have their points where they're most like valid in a certain situation, and having a country of 300 whatever million people.
That's right.
Thank you.
300
factually verified.
Well, like one of these events are gonna pop up, and one is gonna be better than the other, or one may only be available in that situation. And allowing all like contraception, abortion, and there's anything else, just it allows people to have the option, because especially in the United States is prized on its freedom, and a lot of people like that. So the thing is, we have to be able to allow all this, but be able to make sure it's doing it the right way, because especially with abortion, if you make that illegal, we're talking about back alley abortions and stuff. We don't want any of that to happen.
And where do you draw the line?
I don't want that. For the record, I don't want that to happen either.
Like people talk about,
definitely not.
People talk about like government overreach, right? This seems like a bit of an overreach when you think about it. I can't think of anything more personal than that, to have it regulated like that. Which is why, again, even if you ban it and provide all of these things, people are still going to do it, because it's the least amount of effort, least amount of like physical and emotional taxing that you're going to have on yourself, right? So even if you ban it, people are going to do it. You know what I mean? Like no matter what. Even if we don't want it, you just kind of have to like assume that the moment it's no longer legal, that's going to happen. Right, and living in the land of the free, that also means letting people have freedoms that you don't necessarily agree with.
See, my point to the overreach thing and your point there is just that the thing is we view the issue at two different points. You guys see it as just a procedure, and I see it as terminating a life.
Sure.
So, to understand where I'm coming from, if you guys would just take the mental look at it and jump into my shoes real quick. It's essentially to me like killing a child. So it doesn't look like overreach to me, because one of the government's sole job is to make sure we don't kill each other.
Right.
Yeah. And here's in my opinion is an example of us killing someone. So yes, I would like the government to step in and prevent that from happening, which is why it doesn't seem like an overreach to me. But to you guys, you're looking at it, which a lot of people do, is
like
as a medical procedure, like getting an appendectomy. Or appendix. Is that appendix?
I think it is appendix.
I think that, or getting your tonsils removed. It's just a procedure.
I just don't view it as a person.
Yeah, and that's the distinction.
That's the point. And I think
but if we view it as a person, should we, federally kill anybody then? Where do you draw the line? Are we killing criminals anymore now? Do you know what I mean? To drop that bomb, but like if we're categorizing that as a life, fully grown adults have lives.
Which is why I'm
and can be rehabilitated, right? But if like the same people that don't want to kill kids are also like, we should, murder people that burglarize pharmacies.
There's a lot
so,
of
like it seems a little bit like
there's a lot of hypocrisy.
But I think
there's a little bit of hypocrisy. So I don't think you're like that. Though.
I've actually I'm conscious of it because I've had conversations with these people and I've actually argued with a bunch of people who've been more violent than obviously we are.
I mean, like no one's throwing anything at each other.
But like my point is like I used to be pro death penalty, and I've kind of weaned off of it because I'm like, should the government be killing people? And it comes back to this point here. I'm like, should the government be killing people here in this situation? In my opinion,
I think this all goes back to this word we already used before, and that's morality. And a lot of people think of morality as this is bad and this is good, which. Yeah, I mean, that's where it goes back to. But the thing is, morality is in different areas and covers different things for different people. Different certain religions may make a morality in like different ways, while more secular people may think of it in different ways as well. And also, a lot of things can change it, and not everybody's is the same. Because some people can think, oh, that is a person, that is a bad thing to do, while other people could think the opposite, And It really goes down to that too. Like obviously there's a different morality in everybody right here. I mean, all of our point of views are slightly different, and that kind of changes it a bit. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of really big factors that connect us. Like, oh, murder is bad. I mean, obviously we all know
there
that.
There are things that are like objectively wrong. So like if you were to just shoot someone for no reason, like that's objectively wrong. Like it's objective, like the sky's blue. Yeah, I mean that's wrong,
But then there's like those things at the edge of it where like, is it do you believe that's wrong?
Yeah.
Is it okay to murder someone for this?
And this is already a situation we're in.
It's just it's just.
Is it okay to murder someone if you want to take some bread to feed your?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Rob Peter to whatever. You know that meme? Yeah. So it's like. It comes down to morality, and that's why I don't think it's ever gonna be solved.
Yeah,
I think it'll be solved.
I mean, like it's never gonna be completely.
Even if you do enact some kind of law, there's gonna be people that disagree with it.
Well, of
so
course,
it's never gonna be like a universal like.
But I think
this is
the
thing.
Well, yeah, that's with anything. I mean, my point, my thing is, it's just, I don't think we're having the moral argument of is murder bad, is murder good. Is killing bad, is killing good. I think that's something that our society has generally agreed upon already, and we're not having this big upheaval on it.
Yeah.
So I think that the abortion issue can be solved, like Noel said. I think it can be solved because we have a moral foundation. It's just applying that issue to that moral foundation.
It's that people disagree with.
Yeah. There are going to be people who gripe about it. There are people who gripe about literally anything.
Yeah. Damn roads.
Would you compromise on like
taking my money?
A limit? Like a time limit?
A time limit?
Like I don't remember like the stages.
There. I think I
like
not
like anyone could get a divorce.
Again, we're not doctors.
Like a week.
Yeah, we're not. It's caveat. We're not doctors. Like my opinion of it is, I even mentioned it in my contraception debate. My argument is that I feel like there's the moment. Okay.
The moment.
Like when it first splits. Like the zygote, which is when the sperm and the egg come together, I think when that splits and it's two independent cells now, I think that's when it begins. And I know that's a controversial.
Like minutes after, or is that?
I don't know the time. I'm not a
doctor. The moment you ejaculate.
Oh, shit. I like how I see a paragraph comment. That concerns me. Whatever. On our live stream here. Whatever.
Read it?
No, not right now. Not right now.
Well, oh my god, we'll do a Q&A with the audience.
Yes!
Okay. Sorry, yeah, we're live streaming on Instagram and YouTube, etc.
You gotta write down some questions.
No one's watching.
No one's watching. Whatever.
I'm curious.
Whatever. We'll get to that.
We will check.
There's 2 likes. We got 2 likes.
Oh wow, look at that. So I mean, I don't really think that I could compromise on something like that. I mean, I'm willing to compromise on the life of the mother. I know that's but I mean, I don't know. That's something I can't give up because the way I look at it is killing a child. So, like, at any stage, I just can't, because it's still the same thing in my head.
Yeah, because definitely for me, it goes back to, this is more the scientific stuff that we don't really know, but it's like, when does the child first start feeling and is able to think for itself?
And that's when scientists can be like, this is the point at which that happens.
Yeah,
and then we can be like, scientifically speaking, at this point is
Yeah.
when consciousness happens. And then we
and-
could go like, all right, anything before that's fine if that's how you want to take it.
Or
But
at
like,
least there should
you know
be
what I mean, like-
some kind of gap.
but I think it's something that warrants like actual research
And
before
I do,
people have
and there
opinions.
is
I
on it.
research.
do,
I
I
just don't
do
know it.
implore, I implore our audience to look up the information on their own because again, we're not doctors, and
Well,
getting
I mean-
it, and just like I'm
Are you a doctor?
I
Andy?
mean, trust me, I'm a
Dr.
doctor.
Love.
Dr.
Check me for
Pepper.
a
your phone died.